how fantastic you look, and you said you feel fantastic.
I do, I absolutely do, yeah. Regenerated.
Yes, that's the main thing, isn't it? So, how did you two get together?
That was a meeting at the Parliament, wasn't it?
It was actually, yeah, through mutual friends, really.
So you already knew of Tunç and you knew his expertise. How did you come to the decision to kind of go ahead with this? I was reading the Mail article, and apparently one day you looked in the mirror. And I've heard this story so many times before,
Yeah, I know,
from not least my mum and my nan.
Yeah.
And they said they looked in the mirror and thought, goodness me.
I know, I think it's that menopausal thing when suddenly things just change. And yeah, for me, it was coming out of lockdown almost, where I was probably on the back end of menopause. And I just suddenly looked in the mirror and it was like, oh my God, what's happened to me?
Because I guess you still, I mean, for me, I'm 35, I still feel like a 20-year-old or even an 18-year-old. Does that change as you get into sort of your...
Unfortunately not, right?
Well, it does change to a certain extent, but, I've always looked after myself, so I've always kept fit and looked after my skin. So, it did come as a bit of a shock. I mean, I know, obviously, ageing happens to us all, and we have to embrace that, but there's a certain amount that we have to put up with, and then, other things can step in.
I think just embrace it however you choose to embrace it. So whether that's aging without surgery or with surgery, whether that's skincare or going to the gym and eating healthily, however it makes you feel confident. Tell us about this specific surgery that you've had.
Or perhaps you want to speak about
I think the first discussion we had was about why we really need to do that, because people think of it as vanity. But for example, if you break your arm and you go to an orthopedician and fix it, right? But if you realize that aging of the face is bone resorption and then the muscles sagging, why wouldn't I fix that?
And there's the before and after pictures on screen now, so incredible results actually, Doctor.
Yeah.
You've done a sterling job there. Not that you weren't beautiful before, of course, but you can see the difference.
We carved it out back, right? So basically what we did was to fix the age-related problems, and naturally you look younger. I mean, it is not an aesthetic procedure. We are just fixing the problems, giving the health back, putting the bones into order, putting the muscles back to the places where they belong to. And that's it. It's just 2.5 hours job, yeah.
And Karen, tell us about this newfound confidence that it's given you.
Well, I guess just of late, I've been more in the public eye again because I've gone back out into the industry, sort of designing again for the brand Karen Millen.
With your founder's
collection. Founder collection. So it's kind of launched me back out in the public eye. And I think sort of being in that kind of environment, you criticise, look at yourself, much more closely. And I think I felt like I needed a little bit more help, really.
Well, you look amazing. You look fantastic.
Thank you.
And has it given you that confidence to get back into it? Because I know a few years back you've openly spoken about the adversity that you went through, especially after selling the business. So where are you with all of that, and what kind of headspace are you in?
I think I'm in the best headspace I've ever been in, actually, because yes, I've come through some turbulent years, but I feel now that after probably the first time in my life, I feel like I know who I am now. And having the work that I have had done as well, that's just given me the extra confidence that I needed. So.
And you sold the business to, was it Boohoo?
Yeah, no, we didn't sell it to Boohoo. No, we sold it way back 20 years ago. And then it got sold again more recently in 2019 to Boohoo. So it's seen a few changes, and obviously the direction's changed slightly. And so when they asked me to come back, at first I was a bit unsure because they'd closed all the stores and I wasn't quite keen, as to where they were taking it. But after consideration, I thought, well, okay, it's worth the chat. And actually, I was really feeling like I needed to get back out and do something creative again. I'd had far too many years going through this difficult stage that I went through, and I wanted to take back charge and control of my life again.
Yeah.
And Doctor, you said it was going back to the operation. It's 2.5 hours, so it sounds pretty quick in the grand scheme of things. And what's the recovery process like?
Well, I mean, we have real hardcore technology incorporated into the post-operative care as well. So what we do, we do the operation, but then we don't let the patients just heal. We were taking care into London Regenerative Institute, where we took care of like in hyperbaric oxygen chambers, where like high oxygen is increasing the healing process. We were using some like high-tech creams like exosomes, whatsoever. So yeah, it was like in 2 weeks time we were okay, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had a meeting back at the offices actually about 10 days after my surgery, and I hadn't said anything, obviously, to them. And so I went in with these clear glasses on because I still had a little bit of bruising under the eyes. But, you know, it wasn't major, and I just felt that I could still go back out, and the recovery was, you know, incredible, actually.
And
It's
just
amazing what your body can actually,
Yeah.
how it can heal.
And I guess half sorry, Dr. Young.
But also like there's the role of the stem cells, because like what we do now, we take the patient's own cells, separate the stem cells, inject them. So it is also like really helping with the healing process.
Well, thank you for coming in and sharing your story. It's amazing. You are a legend in the fashion world, and you know, an inspiration. And Doc, I have to say, you've done a great job. And I'll have to steal your number for 10 years' time or so.
Right, we'll have to leave it there. But thank you very much for joining us, and Karen, thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Right,
you.
it is now time for the latest news headlines with Sophia Wensler.
It's 11:33. These are your